Hello again. I must admit that I was a little dubious when I saw that the city of Bradford in the north of England had been identified as the most dangerous in Europe. My immediate reaction was that this was likely to be a lot of nonsense and that in no time at all the authorities in Bradford would explain just how flawed the research and analysis was, which had led to this conclusion. In fact, nothing of the kind happened. The response of the Mayor of Bradford and the Chief of the local police was shocking to me. I thought that they would tear this business to pieces and explain how wrong it was. Nothing of the kind. The study by the expatriate consultancy said that for a few years the city was a hotspot for rapes and sexual assaults, particularly in Keighley, a Bradford district that was also home to one of the many child grooming gangs operating in the UK at that time. What does the Bradford District Police Commander, Chief Superintendent Rob McCoubrey, have to say about this? Are the figures used in the study incorrect? Is there a fault in the statistical analysis? He says that, and I quote, "West Yorkshire Police do not recognise this data and do not accept how any methodology can provide a credible comparison across continents, countries and cities. Bradford is a safe place to live, work and visit. Like any city where deprivation and poverty exist, there are of course challenges. However, we work closely with partner agencies and communities to effectively tackle issues as they emerge. For example, over the last 3 years, knife crime in Bradford has fallen by 19% and residential burglaries by 57%. It is disappointing that this survey fails to recognise many of the attributes that makes Bradford such a fantastic city." In the description to this video, I give a link to a news report containing this quotation. I'm bound to say that what this senior police officer says sounds like a load of meaningless guff and does not touch upon whether the report is true or not, which is extraordinary. He says that the survey failed to recognise many of the attributes that make Bradford such a fantastic city. But you see, the report wasn't about the attributes which make European city fantastic. It was about the crime in them. As a police officer, I would have thought this was a subject which might interest him. Telling us that Bradford is a safe place to live and work is merely bare assertion and meaningless. When we are told that in the last 3 years knife crime in Bradford has fallen by 19% and residential burglaries by 57%, all that means is that Bradford was more dangerous 3 years ago than it is now. It doesn't give us any useful information about how dangerous it is right now. One of the many subjects about which I know little, and there really are many subjects, is statistics. But I would have thought that if the study were horribly flawed in some way, then it would be easy enough to point this out. Nobody at all has done so, which is curious. This makes me suspect that there is actually nothing wrong with the analysis. A very odd feature of the news coverage of this study in the British press is that nobody at all points out the glaringly obvious fact that more than a quarter of the people living in Bradford belong to families which have their origins in Pakistan and Bangladesh. Does this affect the levels of crime? Does it have any bearing on the high levels of abuse via grooming gangs and so on? Is there any connection with any of the crimes mentioned in the report? Nobody reading the newspaper coverage would even know that Bradford is so diverse, which may possibly be a key to the whole business. I do not say that this is so, but it is fairly obvious that the chief police officer in the area is a devious weasel with a lot to hide. What is it that he doesn't want to talk about? Why is he going on about the attributes which make Bradford a fantastic city, rather than talking about the actual figures relating to different types of crime in the city? Something fishy here, I fancy. A policeman reluctant to discuss crime in detail in the present day. Why is that, do you suppose?